We're looking at a couple of cartridges today. There's the Beretta 92 and 9mm and the Smith Model 19 and 357. And the topic I'm wanting to look at today is the 9mm. Is it a scapegoat round? A lot of people that detract from 9mm cite the 1986 Miami FBI shootout. Understanding that most of them that bash the 9mm are looking at one round that went under one of the suspects, through his arm, into his thoracic cavity, took out one lung, ruptured a bunch of blood vessels, and stopped about 2 centimeters shy of his heart. And that was out of the Smith & Wesson 59 series pistol with 115 grain Winchester silver tip ammunition. And people began questioning the load and the caliber. What a lot of people don't think about in there is that was one of the first rounds that hit one of the bad guys. Platinum Maddox, one that was armed with a .223 rifle and the other one that was armed with a 12-gauge shotgun during a bank robbery. Two of the agents, like I said, were armed with Smith & Wesson 9mm. The rest of the agents were armed with Smith & Wesson revolvers, either in .38 or .357 Magnum. And the interesting thing, nobody has even questioned the stopping power of the .357 Magnum. And I think there's a reason for that. Maybe the cartridge wasn't the problem, because of the rounds fired, the 9mm hit. Now, I understand under stress, hitting a target, particularly when you're being shot at, well, that's hard to do. The reason we can criticize the stopping power of the 9mm is that bullet struck home, and they say should have done more. That round and that load should have done more. The problem is now nobody's taking into consideration that the agents who are armed with .357 revolvers as their sidearm were failing to make their hits. The reason the two agents were armed with 9mm and were allowed to carry them on duty was because they had been through the FBI SWAT training. The rest of them were just field agents. And you would expect that they would have a high degree of proficiency with the revolver. Apparently, it wasn't enough. Also present that day in the hands of the FBI was a 12-gauge shotgun. Again, nobody's questioned its stopping power. Matter of fact, the fight was finally brought to a conclusion by an FBI agent who was severely wounded and was operating the shotgun with one hand because he had been through that type of training where he understood how to rack the shotgun off the ground and operate it with one hand. But we've never questioned the effectiveness of this round. But we will this round, the 9mm. The truth of the matter is, in a case like that, it's easy to have a bad day. The agents got a call, loaded up 2 cars, and took off to the bank robbery, and ran into 2 heavily armed bank robbers. They exchanged gunfire. A bunch of debacles happened that day that could have happened at the time any day. So if we're looking at a round and were critical of one shot during a whole bunch that were fired, well, maybe we need to look at tactics, training, marksmanship, and preparedness. These agents had the shotguns in the trunks of their car. That was great they had them with them, but they weren't accessible to them during the fight. When they realized, hey, this isn't going to be a quickie. This isn't going to be an easy deal. So when we're looking and comparing cartridges, maybe we ought to also be looking at tactics, marksmanship, and look at those things as well before we're so quick to rip a hole in one cartridge and one shot. Later on,